I have a 4-year-old son who's very strong-willed, and he's my greatest challenge. And I had a psychic tell me once he's here for my healing, but I don't know how to get past all the anger he brings up in me and all the emotion he brings up in me and how to be a good mom.
So as much as he is your biggest challenge, you are his greatest challenge.
Yes.
Just to clarify that. But then the next most important factor to remember is that the two of you chose to experience this relationship together. Now, when you're choosing that experience from the non-physical, it seems like that would be an easy task to undertake, yes? Because in the non-physical, there are no disagreements, there are no anger issues, there are no experiences that you experience in this crystallized form. But then when the experience becomes crystallized and you are now living and breathing this relationship that you chose to undertake, it becomes what you would call a challenge, yes? We would encourage you to start thinking of it less as a challenge and more as an opportunity. An opportunity for you to see clearly from the experience of your son that which has not reconciled within you. And we come back to this idea because this is forefront in terms of the human evolution. So you're going to experience this on a very personal level. So when you are experiencing what you would call challenges, we would call opportunities, you have an opportunity in every situation to extract the goodness from that situation, which could come out as seemingly negative, but the recognition in it is the opportunity to recognize an unresolved feeling of experience within you that is now being shown to you in a beautiful way and sometimes challenging and irritating and annoying way from your 4-year-old. But what makes it a challenge is that there is a certain degree of unwillingness to see it in oneself. Is this making sense?
Yes.
Sometimes not the easiest thing to hear. And as he gets older and is able to conceptualize more, there will be a conversation that will be had that will point in the direction for him to recognize in you the opportunities for him to see what is unreconciled within him. It's difficult now in this time because he is so young. But the spirited child is the new driving force on the planet. So more children that are being born into the planet are coming into the planet with a higher level of vibration, a high resonance, and with that, there has a tendency, sometimes, not always, but more often than not, there's a tendency for more conflict because there is a greater degree of variance in the vibratory resonance that they came into the planet with than they experience on the planet. Is this making sense? Mm-hmm. So in other words, as a whole, there's a resonance, let's say, wrapped around the planet. And that resonance is a accumulation and a direct reflection on the resonance of the entire collective, yes? When these beings come into the planet, they are now coming into the planet with a higher degree of resonance than, let's say, what many of you did, well, all of you did when you were born, because there is a heightened awareness of the human evolution, and with that, the beings coming into the planet bring with them a higher resonating vibration, because that's the vibration that the humans are moving towards, and in order for the collective to move towards that vibration, there needs to be a representation of that vibration on the earth. Is this making sense? Okay. Mm-hmm. So what happens is when these beings come into the planet with this higher level of vibration, then they're basically hit like a brick wall, the actual vibration of the planet. There's a separation in vibration, so it's like they want to turn into a different channel, but they can't find it anywhere. Mm-hmm. And when the conflict comes out between you and him, it just amplifies that. So in terms of becoming, let's say, a better parent, we don't like that term either, but we would encourage you to foster the sensitive side within him and to pay attention to that part of him, to help him understand his placement on the planet and what he and everyone on the planet are here to do, which is to raise the vibration of the planet, and by acting out in certain ways is actually decreasing that vibration. And this is conversation for when he's older, because he's not going to understand it now. But from a little kid point of view, it's the extra hugs in that moment, it's the extra love in that moment, because when the conflict arises, that's what he's missing, and that's what's making him more anxious, is that lack of connection to that vibration that he is so close to, because he's only 4 years old, yes? So it hasn't been worked out of him yet, like many of you. Yes, and that's just simply from being alive for X number of years, but when you're 4, you're still very much connected to, not that you're not connected, but you're very closely connected to the resonance that you entered this planet into. So as much as it's tempting to slap the hand, to sit in the corner, to do this, to have a timeout, to do all the traditional ways of parenting, we would suggest that you look at the alternative ways of parenting and to connect with other parents that have children that are of a higher vibration, and there are many of them. It's just a matter of talking to people about it and finding those parents, because not everyone is willing to talk about it, yes? We understand your challenge, but on the other hand, the bright side is that your son is here with a very specific purpose, and it's you beside him all the way that you are going to, let's say, support him in reaching that quest that he's here to do. Did that help?
Yes, so much.
I'd like to add a question to that. I had my first grandchild 1 year ago, and he's very disabled, and I have an urge to know what his purpose is and how he fits in.
And you will as time goes on. Just because he has disabilities in certain areas doesn't mean that you are not going to be able to communicate with him in a variety of ways that will enable him to express to you through, let's put it this way, through the open channels of communication, however those are for you, you will be creating the safety zone for communication to happen that will enable him to move forward in his purpose on this planet, because he will feel as though that there was somebody there to support him, and somebody there to listen to him, and somebody there to not feel like he's, let's say, loopy in his desires for doing that. So let's say, for example, a child comes into the planet. For whatever reason, they decide to be born into a family that is dysfunctional. Yet this child comes in with a higher degree of vibration and a higher frequency, because that's what's happening, yes? Mm-hmm. But they've chosen, rather than coming into a loving, understanding, spiritual family, they come into a dysfunctional family and find themselves in a situation that is unsupportive of what they are here to do and how they are here to do it. But they can't articulate this because, as you know, you come into this planet and you forget most things, yes? Unfortunately, you remember the back pain. Unfortunately. And why, as human beings, have chosen to do it this way, that's a story for another day. But the fact remains that you come into the planet and for the most part forget what you pre-planned for yourself coming into this experience. So now you find yourself in this position that is uncomfortable, that is unloving, that is unsupportive, that doesn't understand you, that doesn't have the sensitivities that you require, because you're a highly sensitive individual coming into a highly unsensitive family setting, what happens next? Guesses, what happens next to that child as they grow?
They get
Disconnect.
They feel disconnected. They feel unloved. They feel unsupported. What happens when somebody feels unloved, unsupported, and disconnected?
Back pain?
Potentially.
Yes.
Potentially. Acting out is another one. But then it goes farther. Retreating. Self-sabotage.
Disassociation.
Disassociation. Addiction.
Yes.
Grasping for something to make themselves feel better. Because what they lack is the awareness of what it is that they truly need. Once that awareness becomes clear, and all it takes is one person to support that person, that's all I really need. I mean, more is better, but let's face it, as long as you have one cheerleader in your corner, you can make it, yes?
I hope so.
So these kids that are coming in, your grandson included, coming into this planet, require more than ever a sense of safety, a sense of openness, a sense of communication, a sense of acknowledgement that yes, you do see things, and yes, that is perfectly normal. Maybe don't go and tell everyone at school about it, because that might not be the best move yet at this point in time, but there are certain people that can be there for those discussions to reassure and to allow an outlet. So your primary role is going to be that person that is accepting of all things. Yes?